Nuclear power occupies an odd and conflicted position in the modern debate over energy production. It is free of the air pollution produced by fossil fuel combustion, so it has long been put forth as an environmentally friendly alternative to fossil fuels. Yet, nuclear power's promise has been clouded by nuclear weaponry, the dilemma of radioactive waste disposal, and the everlasting shadow of Chernobyl and the 3 Mile Island incidents. Strictly defined, nuclear energy is the energy that holds together protons and neutrons within the nucleus of an atom. We harness this energy by converting it into thermal energy, which can be used to generate electricity. The reaction that drives the release of nuclear energy in the power plants is nuclear fission, the splitting apart of atomic nuclei. In fission, the nucleus of large heavy atoms such as uranium and plutonium are bombarded with neutrons. Ordinary neutrons move too quickly to split apart nuclei when they collide with them, but if neutrons are slowed down, they can break apart the nuclei. Each split nucleus emits heat, radiation, and multiple neutrons. These neutrons, 2 or 3 in the case of fissile isotopes of uranium-235, can in turn bombard other nearby U-235 atoms, resulting in a self-sustaining chain reaction. We generate electricity from nuclear power by controlling fission in nuclear reactors, facilities contained within nuclear power plants. The U.S. Department of Energy's Energy Information Administration tracks world energy trends and projects a 75% increase in global electricity between 2000 and 2020. By 2050, a tripling of this use is probable. In terms of human welfare, this growth in electricity use is desirable. However, the type of power plant used to create this energy will depend on the country in which it resides. The less industrialized nations will want to choose a cheaper power plant, the coal-fired power plant, which produces significantly more greenhouse gases than do nuclear power plants. Unfortunately for the environment, coal-fired power plants are cheaper, but in the long run, nuclear power plants will hurt the environment significantly less than coal-fired power plants. In a study done by MIT, the researchers were quoted in saying, "Fossil fuel-based electricity is projected to account for more than 40% of global greenhouse gas emissions by 2020. In the U.S., 90% of carbon emissions from electricity generation come from coal-fired generation, even though this accounts for only 52% of electricity produced. Taking nuclear power off the table as a viable alternative will prevent the global community from achieving long-term gains in the control of carbon dioxide emissions." Here are a few reasons why I believe nuclear power should be pursued. Nuclear power produces 1/5 of America's power without producing greenhouse gases or contributing to air pollution. Coal and oil-fired power plants discharge higher quantities of airborne radioactivity into the environment. Fly ash, a byproduct of coal-fired power plants, carries 100 times more radiation than nuclear power plants do when producing the same amount of energy. Nuclear power is far more efficient than any other form of electricity production. Nuclear power also uses less land, causing ecosystem disturbance from mining. However, nuclear power is not perfect. Here are a few speed bumps in the continuation of nuclear reactor development. Uranium is an uncommon mineral, and uranium ore is in finite supply, which is why nuclear power is generally considered a non-renewable resource. Nuclear power doesn't come without potential security threats relating to the increased risk of nuclear arms building as well as terrorist attacks if the U.S. continues building more reactors. Low-level waste emits radiation for up to 500 years. Low-level waste disposal rates have been increasing due to the declining access to disposal sites. And nuclear power makes economic sense in all countries that can afford them. For the countries that cannot, it would not be possible for them to build a reactor regardless of how much the country would want to. A team of U.S. senior energy and security advisors have proposed a plan to use nuclear power to meet the growing global demand for cleaner energy without increased risk of weapons proliferation. Their plan, the Assured Nuclear Fuel Services Initiative, ANFSI, would designate countries that currently provide uranium enrichment or plutonium reprocessing as fuel cycle states, and other countries as user states. According to the plan, the user states would agree in return to not obtain enrichment or reprocessing technologies. This plan is safeguarded by the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Administration. Proceeding with nuclear power is worth the risk of possible radioactivity, and more nuclear power plants should be established.